Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar all about vehicles, branding your vehicle, and what's going to be right for you and your business. So the topic of conversation today, of course, is around vans, but could be any vehicle, the new registration that's coming up in September, which we'll touch on slightly, and of course the new opportunity that branding your vehicle brings. So without further ado, I will pass this over to our hosts. Next to me here, we have the lovely Nick Dawes, who will introduce himself, and Jeff Bufton, who's dialing in. So without further ado, Nick, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Grace. Morning, everyone. Thanks for your time joining us this morning. My name is Nick Dawes. I'm the owner of Signed Express in Ipswich. I've been involved in the vehicle graphics industry since 1989. Obviously, the child labour laws were much less strict in those days. And I'm looking forward to telling you what I know. And I'll hand you over to Jeff to introduce himself. He's our head of operations.
So Nick has introduced me for me. So my name's Jeff Bufton. I'm head of operations of the Signs Express network, and I too have been in the industry since 1989. I'm not mentioning about child law because clearly I'm much older, but there you go.
So what we're going to look at today is how to make vehicle graphics work for your business. We're going to look at why now is a good time to consider your vehicle graphics, why they matter more than ever, the long-term value and the return on investment of your signage, what you should include on your new van for maximum impact, how you should brand it from full wraps to modular kits and everything in between, which we'll explain as we go, chevrons and compliance. We will touch on fleet solutions for any of you out there with running a fleet of vehicles, and then we'll have time at the end for a live Q&A to answer any questions you might have. So why September? Well, in our experience, there's an awful lot of new vehicles hitting the road in September. So we're ready to accept that challenge and turn your blank vehicle into a great sales tool. Talking of which, I'm just going to introduce now a short video by Rich Howes, who's our franchisee from Lincoln, talking about the power of vehicle graphics and what they can do for you. Thank you, Rich. So the power of vehicle graphics, well, they are truly 24/7 mobile advertising billboards. They'll be seen wherever you are in your local area, working on jobs, on the move, on the road, and they build up an instant feeling of trust and recognition. They project professionalism, whether you're a sole trader or running a large fleet. And one van can get tens of thousands of impressions per day. In fact, one of our business partners, 3M, has reported that 30 to 70,000 people can see your vehicle every day in a busy urban environment. If you want to get 70,000 impressions very quickly, then park up outside Old Trafford on a Saturday afternoon and get ready for the mass exodus of Man United supporters. Not only is it an always-on advertising medium, it's a cost-effective way to advertise your brand. So when we compare the return on investment for vehicle graphics, which are going to last as long as you have your vehicle, to say digital and print ads, these have a very short shelf life. And as I said, you're going to be seen everywhere you go with zero ongoing costs. So it's working every single day, whether you're on the road or just parked outside your office or your house. But what should I include on my vehicle? This is the question we get asked very regularly, and one that we've got the experience to help answer. So obviously your business name and your logo, if you have it, what you do, either a tagline or maybe some bullet points, your telephone, your website, your social media. And one thing that I really think is important is QR codes, awards and accreditations and reviews, because you've earned them, so why not shout about them? And again, it helps build trust. The most important thing is not to try and overload your vehicle with information. If it can't be read in 3 seconds, it's too much. So what are the options for how you can go about branding your vehicle? Well, they're quite numerous. We've broken them down into 4 fairly broad categories. Cut vinyl graphics, modular kits, which Jeff is going to tell you a bit more about, partial wraps, and full wraps. So firstly, cut vinyl graphics. If you're looking for something that's really going to make an impact, but is going to be affordable and get your name out there with flexibility, then cut vinyl graphics are for you. As you can see a few examples here, these are all done in single color cut vinyl. The color is actually in the vinyl itself, so it's very durable. And these are really the backbone of vehicle branding when you take into account cost, life expectancy, and speed of application. They're budget friendly, they're faster to produce and install, and they're easy to update if you change your telephone number or URL or want to amend any other information or have accident damage. Minimal downtime, your vehicle's not going to be off the road for days. Most of these can be fitted in probably half a day, possibly less. And they aren't limited if the design is good. If we can just go back one slide and I'll show you the laser band there, which I think you'll agree is incredibly impactful. It's a mixture of gloss and matte materials. And when you see these on the road, they really do stand out. So with clever design, you can actually get very good bang for your buck. You do need to consider, obviously, how your chosen graphic is going to work on the vehicle that you've got. And obviously the colour of the vehicle is going to dictate that to a degree. And as you can see on this is Mr. Misty, it's his branding. It works very well on white, but probably wouldn't work so well on a black vehicle. So we'd have to consider maybe reversing some of the elements out into a brighter, lighter colour so it could be easily readable. Also consider where your branding sits on the vehicle. I'm a big believer that the rear of the vehicle is probably one of the best selling areas because unfortunately most of us are sitting in traffic for a good proportion of our day and people are going to see that as they're sat behind you. So this removal van you can see here, again, all done in cut vinyl. All the elements that you can see there have been done in individual colours and applied separately to the vehicle. I'm now going to hand you over to Jeff, who's going to talk to you about a slightly different departure, which has really come to the fore in the last couple of years, which is called modular graphics, and Jeff will explain more.
Thanks very much. So as this slide will show, these are modular kits, also sometimes known as templated kits. They're made in a similar way to Chapter 8 kits, for those who have had experience with Chapter 8 kits on the back. These are pre-templated designs where you can put your printed graphics within the designs. And as you'll see on the images, they sit actually within the panel, the flat panels themselves, rather than maybe a wrap which we'll talk about later on. So if you do the next slide, please. Perfect. So lots of operational functionality with these kits. So they're very flexible and scalable for large fleets. So there's not just one design, there's a whole myriad of designs and templated kits we have for lots of different vehicles. They're incredibly cost effective compared to full wraps. We get to use a polymeric vinyl rather than a conformable cast vinyl. So there's no shrinkage that we have to kind of worry about that's sitting in the flat panels. Much faster turnaround with application time. You can do a templated van in hours rather than days, so you can get your vehicles back on the road very, very quickly. And if you have an accident, damage, repair, then you just call off the particular part that you need and then we just replace that part rather than doing an entire side. So there's lots of operational functionality benefit with modular kits. There are a couple of downsides around them. The main one is the visual effect, the aesthetic look. So again, if we go back a slide, we can sort of just visualize that. It's the contrast of the color of the graphic with the actual vehicle is the downside. So you can see on the bottom left, the Natomia one, if you've got a black graphic on a white vehicle, then the gaps in between the vinyls do stand out more. If you look at the one on the right hand side, the orange on the black, it's much more subtle because the color contrast isn't quite as strong. So, and also then for the top left as well, the car swells. So you have to be sort of slightly mindful on what the colorways that you're going to use are. But there's far more, the operational functionality sometimes and the volume of fleet sometimes outweigh that. So, but it's in the world of being transparent and managing expectations, you just make you aware of that now. So that's it. It's a couple of considerations around which we talked about. So the contrast, slightly mindful of. And also as well, again, the functionality of the design. So on this vehicle here, for example, if they want to change the phone number in that bottom section on the door, you can just whip off that one panel, put on a new panel, and you haven't got to worry about changing the whole sort of graphics on that door. So huge amounts of operational functionality with modular kits. I'll pass you back to Nick.
Thanks, Jeff. So what if you're looking for something with a bit more impact, but not the cost of a modular or a full wrap? Well, a partial wrap is ideal, as you can see some of these images to show you. This is where striking images, blocks of colour and text can be combined to come up with a very eye-catching design. You'll see the Flood Smart Living vehicle there, which is an MG electric vehicle we recently did for Suffolk County Council, where we've managed to incorporate the body contours into the design itself. And again, this is an area where the design balance is quite important, and the images that you choose obviously play a huge part in the impact of the finished result. So considerations for your design. One of the big things that we occasionally come up against is people giving us very small pieces of artwork, so images that work great on their website or other pieces of branding. When they go up to 3 meters wide, they can sometimes be problematic. So they really do need high resolution files that can be scaled up to avoid that kind of problem and pixelation. Considerations around partial wraps, particularly if it's not something you've had before, is how to look after the graphic. And one of the things that we do stress is that you really, if you can, need to avoid jet washing the vehicle, certainly around any panel joins or overlapping areas. If you do have one of these graphics or any type of vinyl graphic, really keep back with that pressure washer. If you're looking for the full Monty, maximum impact, chip and scuff protection, then you can look at a full wrap. Some examples here of some great eye-catching wraps that have been carried out by Signs Express centres around the country. What this will give you is obviously fantastic impact, does come at a cost. It will protect the paint on your vehicle, which is particularly good if you're leasing or otherwise acquiring your vehicles. The install time is considerably longer, can be anything up to 3 days or possibly even longer, depending on the complexity of the graphic and the size of the vehicle. But it does give you much more creative freedom. For example, this Fleximized vehicle, the Audi you can see here, you can achieve effects that actually has a full fade going from the front to rear of the vehicle, and obviously that's something you couldn't really achieve any other way. So you're going to be able to get maximum impact for your investment. Considerations, again, high resolution artwork is critical, but the file sizes can get quite enormous and often way too large to send over email. So we would usually ask that that customers send off artwork to us using a file uploader service, such as MailBigFile. So those are the main options that you have available to you. And As you can see, cut vinyl graphics, they are the basic, but still no less impactful. They don't offer any paint protection. A modular kit, which is, as Jeff explained, something that works very well, particularly with people running fleets of vehicles. Partial wraps, which is the first step really towards a very high impact, particularly if you want to use photographic images and special effects and colours, and then obviously a full wrap where the sky's the limit. We do actually have on our website a 360-degree tour, which you can see here and is accessible if you go to www.sciencexpress.co.uk. You can see that this actually goes through all of the options on a standard vehicle, panel infills here and a partial wrap, which also illustrates that we can go onto the roof of the vehicle. You need to speak to us about the type of vehicle it is. There are some limitations, but and again, a full vehicle wrap there, which as you saw on the earlier video, does look quite stunning in our new livery, and very eye-catching out on the road. As I said, that is available on our website, so you're welcome to take a proper look at that in your own time. We're going to just quickly touch on Chapter 8 markings. Now, these are the reflective chevrons that you will have seen on emergency vehicles. Chapter 8 is actually the section of the traffic signs manual that dictates this portion of high visibility markings, really for vehicles that are going to be stopping regularly on the highway. You will find that if you do work for your local councils, that it will be mandatory if you're working in certain areas that you have these graphics, and we're able to supply those for you. Just to reiterate here, they're strongly recommended and they are normally mandatory. So for highway maintenance vehicles, some utility vehicles, delivery vehicles that are going to be stopping regularly on the highway, construction vehicles, and any stationary or slow moving vehicle that's near or on a live carriageway. It isn't actually always a legal requirement, but it can be a really good safety and branding investment, particularly for high visibility vehicles. So for those of you who have fleets, can we help? We certainly can. We're used to dealing with fleets large and small across our 60+ locations in the UK and Ireland. Once we've created the designs, we can then replicate them easily from one centre, whether you're in Belfast, Newcastle or Exeter. We've got a nationwide install network and we will coordinate everything for you. So coupled with the modular wrap opportunity that Jeff mentioned to you earlier on, this does mean less downtime for your vehicles, and particularly if you do have any accidents or panel damage, that portion of the vehicle can easily be replaced without having to take it off the road for days on end. So as I said, we've got 60+ locations across the UK who are all experienced in all the types of vehicle graphics that we've talked about this morning, and we'd love to help you. Are there any questions? There might be a slight delay, I understand, on the questions coming through, but if anyone's got any, then fire away. A slight delay on the questions coming through, assuming that we're going to be inundated with hundreds of them. No, it looks like we've answered everything that you could possibly need to know. If you do have any questions afterwards, we will be issuing you with a recording of the webinar, and also you can take a look at our website and get in touch with your local centre. And I think from Jeff and I, that's pretty much it for today. Thanks indeed for your time, and we look forward to hearing from you. Goodbye.
Hi Nick, sorry, we've got a question from Yasmin.
Could you read that to us, please, Abby?
Yeah, it says, "Hi guys, I have a question. With the full wrap services, can you do this on site or do vehicles have to come to your premises for installation?"
For those of you who haven't logged off yet, we've had a question about full wrap graphics. Do we need to have these on our site for application, or can we do them off site? In general, we would always prefer to have them on our premises. The vehicles do need to be brought up to temperature, particularly in the colder months of the year, and kept at temperature after the graphics have been applied. So we really do need to have the vehicles on site to carry out that work. And another one someone's asked is, do the vehicles need to come in clean? Well, fundamentally, yes, please. We do have to clean and degrease them, but if they could come in as clean as they could possibly be, that will help with the process.
Fabulous. I think those are all of our questions.
I think that's it. So thanks again and have a good rest of your day.